Hey everyone, welcome back. So my name's Dratlevel44. Today I wanted to basically talk a little bit about having some practice with various weapons in the firing range. Today being the Hemlok with my good friend JHD. Now I will say that in this intro little bit, the Bloodhound in the background, very impressive considering he had no weapon. Not helped by the fact I missed some shots, but oh well, always the way, and fair play to him. But yeah, before I get into it, never stop moving, never stop believing, and stay Apex. So basically, the idea with the video is, of course, that being that Season 6 is around the corner, Ranked is super sweaty, as I'm sure we all are aware, or the ones that do play Ranked will know what a nightmare it is. And of course, you know, normal play can sometimes be a little tedious, so sometimes it's just nice just to have a bit of fun and just do some other things within the game, especially until we wait for Season 6 to come out, because let's face it, that is about, 9 days or so, I think, at time of recording, so not too far away, but obviously seems like a long sort of distance. Anyway, getting back into the video content. So basically, me and HJHD jumped into the firing range together. We both equipped a Hemlok. We used a level 1 sort of like a heavy mag, normal stabilizer, I think level 2, and a scope of our choice. The reason being is because, okay, realistically, myself, although you won't really see it in this particular first clip, because I do absolutely awful, you know, I'm generally a better player with the Hemlok because I do use it a lot more, and it kind of suits maybe my aiming style or my style to a degree, and it stops me from being too overly aggressive, which sometimes has been, or various times, has been the death of me, to be honest. Whereas JHD, you know, he uses a lot of other weapons, like the R301, the Wingman, things like that, very good with them, and I got some footage actually to show at some point where me and him go head to head with the Wingman, a very different story. Anyway, the reason for this is because JHD said to me he's still not very, feels very confident or very good with the Hemlok, and he wants to get better with it, which is absolutely understandable. And I think unless they make any major changes coming into Season 6 for these weapons, they're going to stay necessarily or around about the same. So, you know, the practice is always handy. We can always improve our gameplay, because sometimes you have to take guns that you're not so confident with, and it's always good to get better with every weapon so that you become an all-round killing machine. Now, as you can sort of see here, I mean, like with this particular clip here, I switched to single fire, I duck behind the wall, I switch it to burst. Now, I've got hardly any health, but of course, you know, the good thing about, again, using the firing range and practice for me as well, is just using the terrain to your advantage. He wasn't aware I jumped up high, I managed to get some shots in, and I managed to down him. But, you know, this is bearing in mind how close it was, and this is with a weapon that he's not that comfortable with. And I had to really, like, fight for that particular down. So, you know, without any sort of, like, pretense, there's no doubt that there's a different in class of player. And although I'd like to think that I'm definitely improving and decent, you know, at times, although I do have some very inconsistent days as well. Have we all been there? I feel like I have. I feel like I've had days where I jump into Apex and I'm really good, and other days where I just feel sluggish. Is that just me, or do you guys have that as well? Do let me know. That'd be interesting. But anyway, going back to this, of course, you know, we're just waiting around. I think it was just waiting around to make sure that he was ready. So naturally, you're just kind of like, right, let's turn on the friendly fire, let's get going, and let's see what happens next. So of course, you know, with the Hemlok, I think a great burst potential weapon. It can do a lot of damage. You're talking around about 22 a headshot, if I remember, but of course that is each bullet, so you've got the potential, if you hit all 3 headshots, you can actually do 66 damage. That is quite a lot, and that's from one sort of burst. So if you hit 2 bursts, you're going to down them. As you can see there, managed to strafe out of the way, managed to avoid it, and of course I managed to get a second down. Very close yet again, you know, and that is just scary. Being honest, very scary. You'd think that I'd be very much more superior in regards to being more used to the weapon, but it's still very close indeed. Definitely a scary process when you go against a better player. You realise what a difference there actually is. But fortunately, it is a learning curve, and I use it for my own improvement as well as his. So it does mean that we go through it. Now, in this particular bit here, is that this is me on the mic with him talking about the Hemlok, saying, look, one of the things you can do with it is if you burst fire to the sort of mid center of the body, it naturally, if you don't do any recoil control or anything like that, it naturally, the burst will kind of gradually go up to the head. And I was just sort of trying to tell him, because this is where he struggles, is the burst fire, not necessarily the single. So I was just saying, you can control it. Now, you can control, of course, the Hemlok's recoil for you that maybe, struggle with controlling recoil on various weapons. Each weapon, of course, naturally has a different recoil pattern. Now, I'm sure a lot of you realise that, and that's fine, but there are always people that maybe don't realise. Now, with the Hemlok, although my aim assist keeps on pulling over to JHD there, what I'm making a point is that if you have no recoil, it naturally is going to go up and up to a certain direction. But if you actually hold, on console, at least PS4, if you hold down on the left analog stick as well while you're firing, it's much more stable. Now, it will depend on the stabilizer perhaps that you've got equipped, if you've got any, but it's much more accurate. And this was just me talking through with him and just saying, look, that's maybe it will help you, maybe that'll improve how you actually hit your shots. Well, funnily enough, it kind of did. Now, it didn't happen straight away, and I don't think it's just what I told him, but I'd like to think it helped. But, it's like anything. We'll kind of see. Now, one of the things I will say, just in general with the firing ranges, I do honestly think is overlooked as a very, very useful tool. Firing range, it offers a lot of different things. I mean, you've got access to all weapons, all attachments, all the things that you may find during the fight. Now, you're not always going to find all the ideal attachments and all the things that you need, but that's why sometimes picking up a level 1 heavy mag is a really good idea, because at the end of the day, you may well find a level 1 heavy mag, but you may never find a better one. But it's nice to know that, like with a Hemlok, it adds 6 bullets. Some of the others, it adds a little bit more or a little bit less. Like the Flatline, it adds 5. But it had more bullets anyway, so that's kind of why. Each one is kind of different. Level 1 light mag on an R301 actually only gives it a 2 extra bullets, same as an R99. Pretty terrible. It's worth picking up because 2 bullets extra is always good, but some of them are more vital than others, and that's a big thing. But yeah, firing range, I'm going back to that, it is a very useful tool. You can use it to use different bits of cover. Yeah, I know you've got the same terrain, it's not massively different in the way that you've got things to duck behind, but you can use it to sort of strafe, you can use it to kind of duck cover, take a shot, kind of duck round, literally kind of just try and maybe sometimes, I mean, something that I would get watching there is that I stayed out there too long. Now, fortunately, JHD was missing his shots on that occasion, but would he always? No. And he stayed out there too long. That time I ducked and I managed to down him. Okay, fine, but that doesn't always necessarily happen. And of course, you've got to bear in mind that realistically, in a real fight, you are going to get not always the 1v1 opportunity, although that's what always you should strive for. 1v1 gives you a very, very great chance to win those fights. But of course, if you're going 2 against 1, 3 against 1, you're pretty much doomed. Unless you are an amazing player or the other team is incredibly terrible, then you can't do it. But yeah, I mean, the firing range, as far as it goes, is a really, really good thing. It's definitely worth, if you've got, opportunity to jump in, and I know some of you haven't, which is really, really kind of disappointing, but, you should still jump into the firing range by yourself. I know it's not as fun, but it's still worth using. Even if you do, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, in 2 5-minute bursts, just playing around with various weapons, maybe the weapons that you're less familiar with is always a good one to kind of do, then over a period of time, you're going to get better. Now, my biggest one is the Wingman. I've said it before, I'm not that good with the Wingman. I'm okay at times. Sometimes I'll miraculously hit my shots, and I'll be like, oh, wow, okay. But most of the time, especially in an actual fight, that's where I really struggle. It's very easy jumping in and shooting a dummy that doesn't move, though you can actually make them move if you really wanted. But, it's one of those things where it's just generally just get the bit of practice, get the bit of the hang of it, and you get confident. And when you get confident, you get better, and you keep improving. This game is all about taking the time to actually practice and get better. Now, Do I like practicing? Sometimes. I mean, it can be really useful, and other times I hate it because it can be quite tedious. I think it depends what you're doing. If you're playing by yourself, it's less enjoyable. If you're playing with a friend and you're on mic and you're having a laugh anyway, then of course it does make it a lot more bearable and enjoyable, just simply because you're kind of, having a laugh with them as well, so it takes your mind off. But as you can see in the background there, I stay out a little bit too long, so again, that's a note for me to keep moving, keep sort of dodging, keep using the cover. But fair play to JHD, he does really well here. I jump up onto the height, somehow he can see my head, and he shoots me down. Absolutely, what can I say? I mean, I couldn't even see him. He does, in his excitement, press the wrong button, and he manages to do a finisher. Thanks, GHG, for that. So yeah, I had to then go through and collect all the weapons again, which, of course, is always good fun. But, obviously, he got a down, and he did really well. He got me. I couldn't even see him. And bear in mind, I've got the height advantage. He hasn't, and he still hit me. So, you've got to take your hat off to these kind of players. You've got to say, wow, these kind of players, they can really teach you a lot. And I'd always recommend, if you can make a friend with a very, very good player who's better than you, definitely do it. As long as they'll take the time and they'll actually, play with you, and actually take the time to do things, you will learn a lot and you will become a better player. Maybe they'll tell you what settings they use that you can try, and maybe you can adapt them to kind of your own preference, because you're not always going to like maybe what they do, but however, you might actually kind of like find, oh wow, actually the sensitivity was really good, but I want the other part slightly higher or slightly lower or whatever. And you may well learn things like from that as well. So it's kind of like always a good idea. If you see a good player, which I know is quite hard when you play with randoms, we've all been there, but if you do find a good player, you think, hey, this guy, he's pretty good, he had 5 kills, he played competently, we won the game, or we came close, or he played not like an idiot, he was a team player, he dropped some ammo, got the revive, did whatever. It's worth adding them, because you can learn from better players. I think this is the thing with Apex, is that you get out what the amount of time you put into the game. If you want to become a really good player, you've got to play the game a lot. Now, I play the game quite regularly. I mean, I try and sort of play when I can. I don't always get the chance, but, at the end of the day, it's the only way to improve. And again, as you can see in the background there, JHD absolutely got me. He shot me around the corner. I don't even know how he moves so fast. You'd think he's on mouse and keyboard the way he moves, to be honest, but, he is on pad just like me. We both play on PS4. So I mean, naturally, as I said, it's a really, really good way of just learning, kind of improving your gameplay, getting better with weapons that you're not so confident with. And that's pretty much mainly it. Now, I will say that, of course, as Season 5 comes to a close, it may mean that there will be a slight decrease in any videos I post, for those that, do watch them and care. Obviously, I'm going to post videos when I can, and any interesting videos that I'm able to do, I will, of course, be posting them. But, I don't want to be posting videos for the sake of it that are just terrible. I've got a couple of other ones to do with the firing range that were absolutely brilliant, and I'll be posting them within the next couple of days. But after that, unless you've got any suggestions that you might want to add, then add them in the comments below. But otherwise, that is it for me in regard to this particular video. So remember to never stop moving, never stop believing, and stay Apex. If you've got any other video suggestions, do drop me a comment below. I'm happy to take on board any suggestions you might have. But otherwise, thank you very much for taking the time to watch. If you did like it, a like on the video really helps me out. But that is it from me. I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye now.